Hello, I'm Tan Cheong Kye, and I'm going to talk about the problem statement that we face in this case study, which is the students do not know the catering menu since they are new, and the suppliers are unaware of the students' food preference, causing them to unable to decide what food to supply. Besides, the staff has to manually update the food inventory every day, causing inconvenience and human error such as miscalculation. In order to solve this problem, we have come up with a proposed solution, which is to create an automated system to record details such as food preference and food inventory. Students can update their food preference by ordering from the system, and the suppliers can decide what food to supply in the next week based on the details. Other than that, the system also automatically records food sold and the quantity and also the leftover food. Thus, kiosk staff don't have to manually update the details anymore. Finally, the system will also generate weekly reports such as total sales, payment, and inventory. That's all. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rahman, and this is the context level diagram for food kiosk operating system. For the food kiosk operating system to work is the customer will buy their food, which is the food order information, will go through the food kiosk operating system. The food kiosk operating system will generate the process order and send back to the customer. After that, all the food that has been ordered by the customer will go into the weekly report, which is the food kiosk operating system will send it to the food kiosk staff. But before that, the staff need to log in their details into the food kiosk. For the new staff, will need to register the details into the food kiosk. After the food kiosk staff read the weekly report, they will key in the weekly report information back into the food kiosk operating system and will go through the supplier. The supplier will ask for the information on the invoice, so they will ask the information to generate invoice, but before that they need to register their details into the food kiosk, or for the order, supplier will log in their details into the food kiosk. Then the food kiosk will send the invoice to the supplier, and after they read the information, they will send the invoice for payment into the food kiosk, and the food kiosk will key in the information, which is the invoice from supplier, to the food kiosk staff. The food kiosk staff will need to make a payment, and it will go through the food kiosk, and the payment will go to the supplier. Then the food kiosk staff also will ask for information on the unsold food, and the food kiosk will send the report on the unsold food report to the food kiosk staff.
Hi, Dr. Lin. This is Zhei Hui. I will continue with the presentation. For DFD level 0, there are 3 entities here. The first entity is customer. Customer will order food through the system, and the system will set the food name and the quantity that the customer has ordered into the D1 data store. The second entity is supplier. Supplier will register into the system, and the system will set the supplier's information in the D2 data store. Supplier can supply food and generating invoice using the system. To supply food, the supplier have to log into the system. The system will read supplier's information from D2 data store and verify with the login information. The supplier's information and the food supply information will be stored together in the food supply data store. To generate an invoice, the system will read from D3 data store for the required information. The third entity is staff. The staff will also have to register into the system, and the staff's information will be stored inside D5 data store. Staff has to log in to make payment to the supplier. Once the staff has received invoice from the supplier, they will pay the amount according to the invoice to the supplier, and the detail of transaction will be stored in D4 data store. Staff can also generate report. There are 3 kinds of report to be generated, which are weekly report, unsold food report, and inventory report. This process requires information from D1 data store and D4 data store. That's all for DFD level 0. DFD level 1 is a sub-process for process 7 in DFD level 0. The calculating total payment process will read total payment information from D4 data store. After that, the processed information will flow to this process, which is calculating total food sales. This process will read food sales information from D1 data store. After this process, the processed data will flow to generating food inventory process. This process will read inventory record from D1 data store. And finally, a weekly report consists of food inventory report, total food sales, and total payment is generated. The unsold food report can be generated separately. This process will read unsold food details from D1 data store and generate an unsold food report. That's all from me.
Good afternoon, my name is Ming Wei, and I'll talk about the crucial process for fish making payment. First of all, click on Start. to log into the system, the start need to have an account. If you do not have an account, you need to sign up a new account. By clicking sign up, the start will enter the following details such as username, bank account number, and password. And the password must be at least 6 characters. And then click register. The registration successful page will show after the process has been done. By clicking continue, you will get into the main page. By clicking log out, the system will be log out. A successfully log out page will show after the log out. And then we're back to the start login page. For a current staff, they need to enter your username and password. If the password is incorrect, the incorrect password screen will be shown. The user needs to re-enter the password. If the password is correct, it will directly log into the system. For making payment, we need to click on Make Payment. Choosing a supplier. For example, we choose a supplier DEF. In this case, the detail of the supplier DEF such as name and bank account number will be filled in already. The staff need to enter the transaction title and the amount of money. After that, click Next. This is a confirm payment page. It will show the detail such as transaction title, amount, and also transaction type. If that is all correct, the staff can click Apply. And the transaction receipt will be shown out, which include the detail for the transaction. And then by clicking back to main menu, it will go to the main menu.
Hello, I'm Tan Cheong Kye, and I'm going to continue with the presentation. From the demo, one crucial data store is the detail of the transactions. This data store is used to keep the transaction details. And under this data store, there are 7 elements, which are transaction title, transaction method, transaction amount, transaction date, transaction instruction, which is the reference, recipient bank name, and recipient bank account number.